It was a cold, crisp morning when Jack, a wildlife rescuer, ventured deep into the woods as he did every winter. The air was sharp and the sun had barely started to rise over the treetops. The leaves crunched beneath his boots as he walked along the path, his thoughts as silent as the snow-covered forest. But that morning, something felt off. There was a sense of unease that Jack couldn't shake off, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Jack had been in these woods countless times before, checking traps, inspecting the terrain, and looking for signs of poachers or injured wildlife. But this time, his routine was interrupted. As he trudged through the snow, he noticed something, a faint scent in the air. It was metallic like blood, but different. It was thick with the smell of an animal in pain. Jack's instincts kicked in immediately. He adjusted his gear and began following the scent, pushing through the thick underbrush. As he rounded a bend in the forest, Jack came to a clearing, and what he saw nearly made his heart stop. There, in the center of the clearing, was a massive bear caught in a trap. Its enormous body was sprawled on the ground, and its fur was covered in blood and frost. The trap was tightly clamped around its hind leg, and the bear's face contorted in pain as it thrashed helplessly, trying to escape. Jack froze for a moment. His first instinct was to turn back. This was a wild animal after all, and bears could be incredibly dangerous, especially when hurt. But Jack had dealt with injured wildlife before, and he knew that ignoring the animal could mean its death. So, with careful steps, Jack approached the bear, slowly trying not to provoke it. The bear's eyes were filled with fear, but there was something else in them, a quiet, desperate plea for help. Jack's heart ached. He had seen this look in animals before, the mixture of pain, fear, and exhaustion. But what struck him was the bear's strange stillness. Despite its injuries, it didn't charge or lash out. Instead, it lay there, breathing heavily, its eyes locked onto Jack's as if it was waiting for him to make a move. "Hey there, big guy," Jack said softly, trying to keep his voice calm and steady. The bear's ears twitched at the sound, but it didn't react. Violently, Jack knelt down, his hands trembling as he carefully reached into his bag for his tools. He had to get the trap off quickly, but he also had to be cautious. One wrong move, and the bear could attack out of fear. He spoke to the bear in a low, soothing voice, trying to comfort it as best he could. "I'm here to help. You're going to be okay," he reassured it. Though he wasn't entirely sure if his words were reaching the animal, the bear's eyes, still filled with pain, softened slightly, and it stopped thrashing for a moment. It was as if it understood that Jack wasn't a threat. Jack carefully examined the trap, his mind racing. The mechanism was complex, and the bear's foot was caught so tightly that it would take all his strength to pry it open. He worked quickly but cautiously, trying to avoid causing more pain to the already wounded animal. The bear let out a low growl, a sign that it wasn't entirely trusting of Jack yet, but it didn't try to pull away or strike out. Jack's heart raced as he struggled with the trap. He had to move fast, but he had to be careful not to hurt the bear more, and sweat beaded on his forehead as he tried to open the trap, his hands shaking from the cold and the tension of the situation. The bear was growing more restless, its body tensing, but still, it didn't attempt to escape or attack. Suddenly, the bear made a noise, a low, guttural sound, almost like a sigh. Jack looked up, surprised to see the bear looking at him more intently. There was something in its gaze now, something that wasn't just fear or pain. Jack couldn't explain it, but it felt like the bear was trusting him. With one final tug, Jack managed to free the bear's leg from the trap. The animal let out a sharp exhale, and for a moment there was complete silence. The bear didn't move, though it was clearly in pain, its legs swollen and bleeding. Jack stepped back slowly, breathing heavily, his heart pounding in his chest. He had done it. The bear was free from the trap, but the situation was far from over. Jack knew the bear needed medical attention, but he also knew that it wasn't out of danger yet. The forest was wild and predators roamed nearby. If the bear couldn't stand or move properly, it would be vulnerable. Jack took a deep breath and stood up, ready to help the bear further. But what happened next took him completely by surprise. The bear, after lying still for a moment, began to shift its weight. Its massive body seemed weak, and the swelling in its leg made it clear that it wasn't able to move easily. But as Jack took a step forward, ready to check the bear's leg for further injuries, something unexpected happened. The bear, despite its obvious pain and weakness, slowly stood up. It wobbled at first, its limbs shaking, but then it took a hesitant step toward Jack. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He knew better than to assume anything, but the bear's actions seemed intentional. It wasn't running away or charging, it was moving closer to Jack, almost like it was seeking comfort. Jack froze in place, his mind racing. Was the bear coming after him, or was it simply trying to escape? But as the bear closed the distance, it did something that made Jack's blood run cold with surprise. It gently nudged him with its nose. The gesture was so soft, so unexpected that Jack could only stand there, stunned. The bear wasn't attacking, it wasn't even showing aggression. It was as if it was thanking him. Jack's mind was reeling. He had never seen anything like this before. In all his years of rescuing wild animals, he had never encountered a bear that was so calm, so accepting. The bear's actions spoke volumes. This was not just a wild animal, but a creature in desperate need, showing a human the trust that was almost never given in the wilderness. Jack's initial shock was replaced with a surge of awe. He had never thought he would experience something like this, and a bear showing him trust, gratitude, and perhaps even a sense of peace. Slowly, Jack reached out his hand, trembling with both fear and admiration, and lightly touched the bear's head. The bear didn't pull away. Instead, it leaned into the touch, as if it recognized Jack's attempt to help, as if it knew in its own way that it was safe now. The weight of the bear's massive form leaning into him made Jack's heart swell with emotion. He could feel the warmth radiating from the bear's body, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a predator. It was a living being in need, and Jack had given it that one small moment of relief. As the bear stood there, Jack's thoughts raced. He had spent his life working in the wilderness, saving animals, treating their wounds, and trying to give them a second chance. But this moment was different. There was no frantic struggle, no fight to escape. The bear was simply standing there, showing its gratitude in a way Jack had never imagined. It was almost as if the bear had understood that Jack wasn't a threat and had decided to show him a level of trust that few humans ever received from wild animals. Jack stood there unable to move, lost in the moment. The forest around them was eerily quiet, and the world seemed to pause for a brief second, as if the forest itself was holding its breath, watching this unlikely bond form. The bear's breath was shallow but calm, and for a moment, Jack forgot about the pain the bear had endured. He forgot about the trap, the blood, and the cold. All that mattered was this singular moment of connection between two beings from entirely different worlds. But as the bear gently pulled back, Jack knew this moment wasn't going to last forever. The bear took a cautious step away from him, its injured leg dragging behind, but it didn't seem as weak as before. Its movements were slower, but there was an unmistakable grace in how it moved, as though it had found some strength deep within. The bear paused, looking at Jack once more, its eyes still full of gratitude, and a touch of sadness met Jack's. For a brief moment, then as if it had done what it needed to do, the bear turned and began to limp away. Jack stood still, his heart heavy with a mixture of emotions. There was a sense of peace that had washed over him, but there was also a pang of loss. He had just shared a moment with a wild creature that would never be the same again. The bear's departure wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. That moment of connection, that fleeting moment of trust had been a rare gift. But Jack couldn't help but feel a deep sense of fulfillment as he watched the bear slowly disappear into the forest. It was as if the bear had shown him something important, something that was bigger than the rescue itself. It wasn't about saving the bear from the trap or even the physical injury. It was about the bond they had shared, however briefly. It was a reminder that even in the wild, there were moments of pure connection that transcended the usual predator-prey relationship. And sometimes a simple act of kindness could change the course of an animal's life. As Jack slowly turned back toward the path, the stillness of the forest seemed even deeper. The air felt charged with the energy of that brief interaction. The bear had given him more than just a rescued animal. It had given him a lesson in trust, in kindness, and in the unspoken bond between